Kenyans Kenyans are clever. If it has been found, even within that short time, from the ruling up to today, it has been found that that Form 34B from Mombasa, or from Coast, it has been proved to be that it was a right form. It means that somebody gave the Supreme Court a wrong information to make a wrong decision. We want them to go back and look at that history, and then we open the ballot boxes.
Who would have given them wrong information?
Of course, you know the people who work in the Supreme Court, including the clerking offices and so on and so forth. Why would they give them a wrong Form 34B that was later found to be a right 34B?
Well, those allegations are not proven, so we
it was said by Supreme Court by it themselves. Okay, no, one minute, Victoria. It was said, and the Kenyans know. Njoki Ndung'u said very clearly that those forms have been found to be the right forms. So they cannot lie to us, okay. and we will ask for review.
Let me address two issues. The first one is with regards to the so-called numbers which are being bungled by Jubilee left, right, and center about governors, MPs, MCAs, that they have majority, etc.
Yes, we have the majority.
And of course, they are mentioning Jubilee together with what they perceive as affiliates. And I want to surprise you, Victoria, that even if I leave the argument that some of these positions are being contested in court, take, for example, Muvuria is the governor for Kwale. So does Muvuria reflect the presidential vote for Kwale? That's a very basic example, because Muvuria is Jubilee governor. How he won, I don't want to talk about. But does it mean that if Muvuria is today the governor for Kwale on Jubilee ticket, it means that Uhuru won Kwale? If Mutua is the governor for Machakos, does it mean Uhuru Kenyatta won Machakos County? If Sonko is today the governor of Nairobi, does it mean? I can go on, and I will tell you there are 8 MPs in Western Province on Jubilee ticket who, their constituencies, Uhuru lost terribly to Raila. So these numbers that you bungle, take the case of Langata here. The MCA in Langata, all the MCAs, Langata constituency, are ODM. But the MP is Jubilee. And the presidential candidate went Raila away. So this talk about we won MCAs, we won MPs, it is a very lazy way of addressing electoral system in this country. In 2007, President Kibaki had only 42 MPs on PNU ticket. And the contest between him and Raila was very close, even though Raila defeated him. But the contest was very close for the presidential. Even the announced result showed a very close contest. So that argument, I think Jubilee should stop it. They should know it is a lazy argument. It's an argument by people. Just let me finish, because I allowed you to finish. Yeah. You will respond later, because I had 2 issues. So to me, it's a very lazy kind of argument. But let me now go to, I think it is being argued by people who fear numbers, who don't take their time to look at numbers. We do. Now, the other issue that I wanted to correct my friend on and colleague is this issue of review in court of the Supreme Court decision. I know the law allows anybody to seek for judicial review. But I will tell you that this talk about vote recount, it is something that is not tenable, and I don't expect the Supreme Court to give you any serious consideration. In fact, your lawyers are really doing great harm to Jubilee. That's why you even lost this case, because your lawyers assumed from day one that in Africa you cannot annul the president's election. And so they did not even put up a strong case. Remember, Orengo asked for review of the system, of the election, including the vote recount. And it was your lawyers, Miti actually accepted, but it was your lawyer, Ngatia, who objected, and they were given 30 minutes to consult their clients. And they came back with a verdict that their clients had refused, to the extent that Orengo had to withdraw his application. Now, why are you bringing that application today? What have you done to the ballot boxes? We know you have stuffed the ballot boxes. Okay. And we know very well that who has been in charge. IEBC has no capacity to safeguard the electoral materials. We know it is Jubilee government that has been in charge of these materials. How do you expect us, even in Soba South, for example, immediately after the election result was declared, I know it is the police officers in Soba who are in charge of those ballot boxes.
So you're
I cannot
guarantee some tampering
guarantee
the
safety of those materials. So how foolish should we be even to allow that to take place?
Two things. Number one, the idea which my senior brother here, Mbadi, who I really respect, that, you know, they might have won, it's not true. And even if he's taking an example of Kwale and a number of other places, he's saying, let's go back to Form 34A and 34B. Because those 34As and 34Bs have an actual reflection of what our candidate got in Kwale.
So meaning
we are not claiming.
So meaning Uhuru won Kwale.
We want the truth. But he has his votes. One second. No, but I gave you time. No, Chairman, I gave you time. Eh? Please give me also time.
Then you can ask the question.
Yeah, give me also time. You know, that Form 35B, which is a constituency form, an aggregation of polling stations, will actually reflect what our candidate got. And we will thank the people of Kwale for giving our president what they gave. And that is why we are saying, okay, 1 minute, these guys want to cause a crisis. I'm saying we don't want to go for election. That is why we want to go for review. That is what NASA don't want. Because they know the truth, Madam Victoria, that Uhuru Kenyatta won. So we cannot lie. And that's why we are telling them, if you want to move forward, let us move forward with the truth. And even if it is not for anything else, but for history, we want to tell this country, we want to tell our people, we want to tell our children, who actually won in the last election. Uhuru Kenyatta won. We want to prove, even if it doesn't make any sense to anybody else, we want it to make sense to the people of Kenya.
Honorable Badi.
Now, you see, the question that I wanted to ask, I think, is now overtaken by event, but I just was getting curious that he was trying to insinuate that even the presidential election, the presidential result, the correct one, according to him, meaning there's a result that is not correct. He's also admitting that IEBC probably didn't give correct
no,
for his presidential candidate.
That's
but
not
if
true.
I got you wrong,
that's not true.
If I got you wrong, then I take it back. But I wanted to let you know that really, it is not that the investigation that was done by the court, the Supreme Court, that it was a report of some clerks, some registrar. I'm told now they are targeting the registrar of the Supreme Court. It is not. The Supreme Court allowed each party, Jubilee and NASA, to have their representatives. And in fact, your representative signed that report, the report that indicted the Form 34As and Form 34Bs. If a team of experts who were sent to go and look at the systems, where Jubilee was represented, NASA was represented, we had 2 experts brought in by the court. We had the registrar together with her team. They did a report which out of the 6 judges, 5 have agreed to, including Ojua. It's only Njoki Ndung'u who has poked holes on the report on Form 34As and Form 34Bs. Does it mean that only Njoki Ndung'u in this country can get it right and all these people got it wrong? There must be a problem. In fact, Njoki Ndung'u cannot convince us that a lady, and I know her with figures. Njoki is someone I know very well. I know she doesn't like numbers. But how come that Njoki could go through all the 11,000 forms? And this has been said by many people. In a record 21 days, and still do a report of 440 pages, single-handedly. That is a lie that you cannot convince this country that we can believe. I think what Jubilee is trying to do is, Jubilee is trying to colonize the minds of Kenyans with this perception that we won election with 1.4 million votes, votes that cannot be proved, that the Supreme Court could not understand it. In fact, they were asked a very simple question, very simple, that how come the presidential votes, if you add all the votes for all the presidential candidates in this country, 8 of them, and you add all the spoiled votes, all the votes that were put in the ballots for president, they are more than those which were voted for other positions, with close to 500,000. That simple question, none among your lawyers could answer that. Very simple.
Yeah, you see, these guys want to talk about something which is like you know, populist or is popular and so on, why are they fearing the actual Form 34A and Form 34B? Why are they fearing? What they want to hide on this thing called servers and so on and so forth, which is confusing Kenyans. You know, people don't understand what is a server. And let me take Kenya or Kenyans, Madam Victoria, in a simple way. You know, Form 34A is the actual form which is filled by presiding officer. You know, so people vote, and then after that you count the votes, and then you put everybody in that Form 34A. And then this 34A is taken to constituency. In the constituency, then the returning officer is putting all this aggregation into 34B. And then now, what happens is that then they scan or they put into SMS and so on. And that is where now the argument was that there was a problem in transmission of these forms. Now we are saying, let us now revisit. But these guys don't want. Why? No. Because that is the actual thing that will prove our candidate won fair and square. And that's why we are saying, we are saying, you had a lot of time, Madam Rubaridi, keep me also a little bit. That's why we are saying, okay, well, they made the ruling, that is the Supreme Court. We don't like it, we don't agree with it, but we have accepted as Jubilee to say we are going on 26. But these guys are taking us back and saying, no, because they know they are going to lose again. They don't want that to happen. That is why they are bringing these shenanigans and saying, let us change the IEBC and so on and so forth. We are supporting, and even if the amendments was to come to Bunge, we are supporting. We want to put more concentration on the actual votes. We want to put more concentration in our laws on the actual voter, the decision of the actual voter. These guys don't want. Let me even ask you.
So how are you going to do that, to put more focus on the voter through laws? Once
the proposals, we want to reduce this idea of processes, too long processes, which confuse the voter. We want to make that as clean, as short as possible. But these guys don't want. And that is why we have said, okay, well, if you don't want 26, we are going for the review. And anyway, we are going for review. We want to ask the Supreme Court to count our votes. We will not stop. As much as our other team are going on with campaigns, some of us are going on with review. So that now, NASA will find the truth. And even if they don't want election, then they will proceed, because they want to use Article 138, when they're saying that, you know, oh, we don't want election. They're hiding under Article 138. Now it has come out that they are trying to hide and say, look, there will not be election in Kenya. We're asking ourselves, look, how will one say there will not be election in Kenya? Are you going to do something very bad to anybody? Are you going to do something bad to candidates and so on?
But we've been categorical that if they don't get the irreducible minimums, yes, then we'll not have an election.
How? How will you achieve that?
That's what he's here to answer.
Yeah, how? Let them tell us. They're hiding under Article 138.
Honorable Badi.
Victoria, let me put it this way. I want to really correct my brother here that he hasn't understood the process of voting, and especially for presidential. He's talked of Form 34A being aggregated to Form 34B, then sent. That is not the correct position. The correct position in law is that Form 34A, which are filled by presiding officers at the polling station, immediately they are filled, they are supposed to be sent electronically in scanned form. That is what the law says, in scanned form, not the data. You scan the form and send it electronically both to the National Tallying Center and the Constituency Tallying Center. That is supposed to be simultaneous. And that was meant to avoid human interference in the system. This is what didn't happen, that Form 34As were not sent in scanned form to the National Tallying Center. Yes, at the constituency they would be aggregated to Form 34B, which Form 34B will again be brought to the National Tallying Center. But the information, the data that IEBC should be using is Form 34A, the actual forms that are scanned and sent to the National Tallying Center. That is what is causing discomfort among the Jubilee. They are now saying that why don't we want Form 34A? Which Form 34A? Form 34As and Form 34Bs have been interfered with. Some don't have security marks, some do, some don't have serial numbers, some do. That is where they know. And so you cannot tell us the forms that you sat. In fact, that is the for your, can I just now finish? And for your information, 4 days after election, the IEBC still had a problem accessing all the Form 34As, meaning somebody was, someone sat somewhere making fake Form 34As. That is why you find some of them have security. In fact, we are clear some were probably printed in Riverwood. So what these guys are talking about Form 34As are not Form 34As. Are not Form 34As.
On that note, let's take a short break. We need to move this conversation forward in terms of what next. October 26th is fast approaching, and we need to be prepared as a country, as all the actors, to vote on that day. Let's take a short break here on Decision 2017. Much more ahead. All right, welcome back. You're watching Decision 2017. I'm Victoria Rubadiri, still continuing this conversation with Honorable John Mbadi and Honorable David Kosing. Let's now move the conversation ahead, because NASA is still waiting on the irreducible minimums they've given to the IEBC to respond back. There were reports that they should at least give some news today. If it's not favorable to what NASA wants, what's the way forward, Honorable Mbadi?
I think we have been very clear that we have put what we call irreducible minimum conditions, because we are aware that we are going back to this election because of the mismanagement by IEBC, and we don't want to participate in another mismanaged election. It would not make sense to this country. And so if IEBC is not going to correct what we perceive or what we believe are the wrong infrastructure for a repeat election, there will be no election. We have said it. Because this election, by the way, if you listened to the words or the wordings from the Supreme Court judges, the majority ruling, they said must be conducted in strict compliance with the Constitution and the law. So if IEBC is not going to do that, then we are not going to participate in an illegality. We are not going to help them ignore the order of the Supreme Court. And so there will be no election. I heard my brother here say that we are hiding behind, we are trying to use Article 138 of the Constitution to protect us. I mean, Article 138 of the Constitution was not made for NASA. It was made for Kenya. And if there is any provision in that article that we can rely on, it is still our Constitution. We've not gone outside the Constitution. Yeah. But I would tell him that this just thumping that they will do an election anyway is because of their ignorance. They have not read our Constitution. They don't know that Kenya has moved. They think they are still in the mindset of 1980s when the president's word was law, that there was executive fiat, that the president could wake up and even suspend the Constitution. It is no more. We can't go back there, and we will not allow it.
So when NASA says there will be no elections, and you hear Jubilee saying, as who? Where are you getting this from? Why not just say Raila does not participate in the elections and we go forward with Uhuru on the ballot?
That is the boycott. We are not boycotting election. There will be no election.
And what
do you mean by that? If there is no election, it just means that there will be no election in this country. If there is no election, it is not there. It did not take place. And if it doesn't take place, then you cannot have Uhuru Kenyatta sworn in as who?
So
you cannot pick any. It's like picking a villager.
If you can give us specifics, because you know people are saying this is code language for mass action, or slipping the country into.
What is this thing you call mass action? Yes. Do you call it picketing mass action? Do you call demonstration mass action?
Well, people are liking it to what we saw in 2007, 2008.
Yeah, because someone decided to call demonstration mass action. Doesn't make it mass action. I don't even know this language, mass action. If you ask me today to describe what mass action is, I would not describe it. But what I know is that the Constitution provides picketing, it provides peaceful demonstration. And we will, that is an option that we can exercise anytime, before, after, even on the day of the voting, it can be done. Kenyans are at liberty to exercise their civil liberty. We gave ourselves the Bill of Rights, Chapter 4 of the Constitution. It is very robust. So no one should criminalize any civil liberty that we enjoy and call it mass action and give it a bad name. It is not violence. What we are saying is we can exercise any democratic right provided in the Constitution. Okay. But what I would guarantee you, Victoria, is if we are not going to have level playing ground in this country, we are not going to make another mistake in this country of having a fraud election.
But what if you have Kenyans still going to the polls on the day that you're saying we're not having elections? What happens in that case? Because people will still vote.
It would be unconstitutional. I'm yet to see. I will see if people are going to vote. Because
people feel this term of no elections really is NASA holding its cards close to its chest in terms of not.
Of course, we are at liberty to hold our cards close to our chest. But so, I will tell you that we have deliberated this matter. We have come to a conclusion. If we are not going to have level playing ground as was ordered by the court, then there will be no election in this country.
Okay, Honorable Hussein, because we have NASA saying they will take to the streets, protests, which they are allowed to under the Constitution.
Yes.
Jubilee, on the other hand, saying we'll do this through the law.
Yes.
Changing the law.
What we're saying is we want to respect the law. And I want to correct also my senior colleague, Honorable Mbadi. And I want to remind him also in the ruling, all of us were listening and were following up. The ruling was that there are systemic problems. There are those legal problems, and so on. That did not boil down to administrative. It's legal, and we need to look at it. And when we are proposing also amendment, we are also trying to cure.
How does it not affect the administrative
the legal
aspect of IEBC?
Because, but Supreme Court itself said
we didn't find systemic problem.
Yes, and they went on to qualify that, Madam Rubaridi and Kenyans, that we didn't find any problem or criminal culpability to any. What these guys want, our colleagues, they are not honest. And you saw my colleague here is not honest. What do they mean by there's no election? They're not saying. That is why it tells you these guys want to force a chaotic kind of a scenario to force one Sumkate government. Let me remind him like this. The idea of no election in this country is a threat. In fact, we are asking, what exactly does it mean even to a common Kenyan down there? Are you going to eliminate anybody? Is that not serious? I hope the security forces are watching this.
By eliminate, what do you mean?
Because what do they exactly mean by saying there's no election? Do you want anybody to disappear so that there's no election?
Actually, you're the ones who is involved in hate speech.
No. That is a very dangerous. And in fact, I have been even myself as an individual. I've been wondering, they should be called to record a statement to tell Kenyans what exactly do they mean by saying that there's no election. Because that is a dangerous statement. For example, if somebody was to come to my constituency, when we are going, let's take it at that small level, where I'm involved as an individual, and somebody says, there's not going to be election. Is that person going to eliminate me? So there's no election. It's dangerous. So rather than putting the country into that kind of a problem, they need to be very honest and say, this is what exactly we mean. We mean the following things and so on. Then we say, okay, fine, let us go then to politics. Secondly, the idea of IEBC is not Jubilee. IEBC is an independent institution. We in Jubilee want to follow the law and respect the institutions. These guys don't want to respect the institutions. What we are telling Kenyans, and we are telling also our brothers, let us do a sober campaign. Let us go for a rematch. It has been declared, we are ready for 26th, and we will also beat them on 26th. We will confirm. But because they know very well that they will not win, they don't want that to happen, so that they force an Usumkata.
Let's talk about the IEBC meeting that is expected this week. What is likely to come out of it between NASA and Jubilee? I'll start with you, Honorable Mbadi.
I really don't know this meeting organized by IEBC, because as far as I'm concerned, we offered ourselves to meet the IEBC. They squandered that opportunity. We went to IEBC. Our presidential candidate went. We waited for our competitors. They didn't appear. And when they finally appeared after we had left, but even before we left, we asked to meet the chair. The chair said he could not meet us alone until the other team arrives. But when we left, he went ahead and met the deputy president with his team. How then can you still continue to allow yourself to go for a meeting with such a dishonest institution that tells you cannot meet you alone, but goes ahead to meet your competitors alone? That we found as condescending, the attitude of the IEBC, and more particularly the chair. I don't know whether our principals will again go for another meeting, but the meeting, I would suppose, if there is a meeting that is supposed to be there, it's supposed to agree on how our irreducible minimums are to be met, including the vacating of office. Probably they are going to report to us that now Chiloba is leaving by Friday or whichever day, together with this team, the Muhatis, Kasait, and others. But something that I wanted also to mention, Victoria, if you indulge me, is regarding this discussion that there was no criminal culpability found on the part of IEBC officials. Far from it. I think, my friend Kosing, you didn't really listen to the judges properly. I did. I was in court. And I listened to the judgment. They said that there was not enough evidence there to point a finger at specific individuals. That does not mean there was no criminal culpability. What the case that we were canvassing in court was not criminal culpability of electoral officials. It is now when we can put together a case against those IEBC officials. But the fact that Supreme Court made a determination that there were illegalities, very simple, basic English language. Illegality means not legal. So if someone who might have committed these not legal acts in IEBC, is it some angel from heaven? There must be people who did things that were not legal. And those people definitely must face criminal culpability and must be charged. And that is why we have asked DPP to investigate. Right. In the absence of that, as NASA, we have organized ourselves because we have enough evidence. We will institute private prosecution. So it doesn't mean that the people at IEBC are clean, are as white as snow. They are not.
So when you say private prosecution, what do you mean by that exactly? This is if the DPP does not find any culpability with the officials that he's investigating?
The law allows us, any private citizen, if you feel someone has committed a crime, you can institute a private prosecution on your own. You can prosecute without involving the DPP.
Okay, Honorable Kusing, what do you expect out of that meeting with IEBC?
For me and for us in Jubilee, we are law-abiding citizens. We follow the law, and we also respect institutions. So if we are invited, we will go, right, and meet. Because these are Kenyans. IEBC will be run by Kenyans, and will be run by Kenyans forever. We should trust ourselves and trust institutions. So we will go, and we will listen. We don't know what they want to tell us. And of course, public participation is provided for in the Constitution. So we'll go and listen, and we will be able to say what we will say with them at that particular time. But of course, our colleagues don't want that, because you know what they want. They want to cause chaos, and then these guys are very clear on what they want. But let me go back and to correct my also senior colleague. When he said that, there were no criminal culpability, there were illegalities. But we have also found since that, and even from the Supreme Court itself and from the ruling, from the dissenting voices, that they pointed out to say, and we are trying to say, if then the ruling was informed by a wrong idea, that wrong information or wrong forms were placed before the Supreme Court for them to make that determination, then the decision should be reviewed. Because since then, we have also found out that the forms which they were arguing that it didn't have security features, now they have security features. The forms that were not signed,
now they have.
Now it has been proved that it has been signed. Because we were just told.
How did they just get security features if they wanted?
They were, but nobody, they didn't have enough time to be able to look at that. And they were predetermined. And in fact, also, people have also gone to different institutions to seek for clarification in terms of how was this information being handled. Now that that has been found to be, that there is a problem, that is why we are asking for review. So we cannot say that, because of this, because of that, but we will go, we ourselves in Jubilee, we will abide by the request. If we are invited, we will go. But we want to tell Kenyans that we in Jubilee, we are ready for election. Okay. And I think the exit strategy for this country, and we want to convince our colleagues in NASA, if they really mean good for this country, let us sit down and go for an election. And if you don't want the election, as you are trying to purport or trying to say there's not going to be election, then ask your principal, ask the presidential candidate to write to IEBC. let them write to IEBC and say, look, you know what, we are not going to participate in the coming election. That is fine. But this idea of talking around is trying to create that kind of a chaotic, and this country will never be in chaos, Madam Rubadiri.
Okay.
We will have an election, whether they want to be there or they don't want to be there is up to them, but for them to show that they are honest,
let me just ask
let them write.
Honorable Badi really quickly, because you said if the IEBC comes back with its take on the irreducible minimums by NASA, and they say Chiloba and team will leave by Friday, for instance. However, you've given him up until the end of today to leave. If not, of course, NASA will storm the IEBC headquarters. I have to ask this one more time. How is that going to be done to remove him? If he does not leave by tomorrow, what happens?
Victoria, I think I answered that the same thing that happened to Hassan will happen to him. You will leave. You cannot force yourself into a public office when your credibility, integrity is in doubt and is questionable. You can't force yourself on the people. You are going to run election for us, not for yourself. So Chiloba will just but leave. So to me, I don't see any contradiction there. He will definitely leave. The other thing that I wanted also to point out, Victoria, if you allow me, is that you see the problem with Jubilee is since September 1st and after the Supreme Court judges made the detailed judgment or presented detailed judgment to Kenyans, Jubilee has since created their own court, Supreme Court. I don't know whether it is domiciled at State House or where it is. They are already canvassing the case there and trying and making judgments. That is where you now hear that now we have Form 34B. You are wasting time. This is a matter
really?
That is concluded.
No.
Please tell your people you can do much better. Instead of wasting time, I think your lawyers still want to take your money the way they did before the Supreme Court verdict. Even someone who is not a lawyer like myself but is intelligent enough to know that that is complete waste of time would tell you that you're wasting time. You remember, before even the case was canvassed, there were affidavits that were filed in court. And the Jubilee lawyers had an opportunity to peruse through those affidavits, and they were given an opportunity in court. In fact, as a matter of fact, they were given more hours than even the NASA side was given cumulatively to poke holes into the evidence that was presented by NASA. And in the evidence that we presented in court, part of it was about the security features in the forms, it was about the serial numbers of the forms, was about unreliability of the forms. And so your lawyers squandered that opportunity, all of them. None of them attacked our evidence. Now you come later after a determination has been made, then your lawyers put you somewhere.
We need to move away from the Supreme Court and head back to the IEBC. Andrew Cheng is back with some updates from there. He updated us a bit earlier on what we can expect from Anniversary Towers. Andrew.
Well, thank you, Victoria. As you rightly mentioned, still here at the Anniversary Towers, the headquarters of IEBC. And from what I've been able to gather so far is that there has been a statement that has been issued by the EACC that the multi-agency team that we were speaking about earlier on has already been formed and has already started investigating the conduct of the registrar of the Supreme Court after the petition that was filed by the EACC to investigate her conduct. Remember, there has been there was that issue that was filed earlier on by a member of the public who complained that the registrar may have misled the Supreme Court judges who agreed with NASA in the presidential petition. So we understand that that multi-agency team has already started working on that. We don't know whether it will combine its work with the investigations that it was supposed to conduct on the IEBC officials who are claimed to have bungled the August 8th election. So it may happen that it is a two-pronged exercise that is going to happen both on the Supreme Court staff who are alleged to may have misled the Supreme Court judges because according to Jubilee supporters and according to some politicians in Jubilee, remember the dissenting opinion by Justice Njoki Ndungu claimed that in her judgment, she said that the ballot papers and everything in the registry had no problems. They had the security features. Everything was intact, basically. But in the report that was prepared by the Supreme Court registrar, it seemed to be different from what the Supreme Court judge gave in her dissenting opinion. So that is what we understand will be happening. But the multi-agency team, with individuals drawn from the office of the DPP, from the police and from the EACC, we have not yet confirmed whether they have started also investigating IEBC staff as well, because from our understanding, that was what was supposed to happen after the ruling of the judges had been given. As regarding individuals in the commission who are supposed to leave office, and from what we've heard of NASA also going forward to tomorrow, where they have been saying that they will be holding demonstrations here to demand that staff whom they deem to be partisan or whom they deem to be not partial in the conduct of the elections should leave office. Key among them the CEO Ezra Chiloba. What we understand from some of the people we've spoken to is that they are urging NASA and the opposition to hold on and wait for the investigations to be done by the relevant authorities that are doing it, either the DPP or the EACC or all these other bodies that are conducting these investigations into the conduct of the officials. And if they are found culpable, then they will leave office, and then and if maybe they decline to leave office, then they will be right to have the demonstrations that they have called for. So those are the two key developments that we have been able to gather here from the anniversary towers. Victoria?
Andrew, before I let you go, I hope you can hear me. Any word on the meeting that is set for this week between IEBC, Jubilee and NASA? Have they confirmed that?
Well, not yet confirmed on that. I have not yet heard anything about that. But remember the last time that there was supposed to be a meeting of all the three parties. NASA principals came here earlier on and left because they said that the Jubilee side had delayed, were late for that meeting. NASA, I remember, came here and waited for close to an hour. The NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga was here, and all the other principals were also here for that meeting. The deputy president who was representing Jubilee came much later on and was in the meeting for about 30 minutes with the IEBC commissioners. So that meeting with all the parties involved did not take place because NASA claimed that it was supposed to be a tripartite meeting, if I could call it that, of IEBC, Jubilee and NASA. It didn't take place then because they claimed that Jubilee were late, but Jubilee also had its own reasons for that. So going forward, we have not had so far of a new date, a fresh date for that meeting to be held going forward, Victoria.
All right, thanks, Andrew Cheng, there in front of Anniversary Towers, giving us an update on the IEBC. And we just heard from him that they've requested NASA now to hold on the demonstrations until the investigations are complete. Will you respect that request?
Yeah, I'll answer that immediately, but allow me just 30 seconds just to finish something that I was saying on the issue of judicial review that my friend was talking about. Because I wanted also to let you remember that for a judicial review to take place, it can only be done if there are new facts coming in, not the facts that were before the court as at the time of the hearing. So really, you really need to convince the judges that you have come up with new things, not that now we have Form 34Bs, because you had an opportunity. The lawyers, your lawyers were given a period to look at the affidavits and respond, and they didn't. And that's why I was saying, I doubt whether your lawyers are doing you a service. Let me now address the issue that you have just raised regarding the offer by IEBC. That offer by IEBC looks reasonable if they are going to follow and act and tell us exactly. They should follow it with the timelines, in my view. That hold your horses till maybe Wednesday. We will now give you concrete steps that we have taken to level the playing field. That to me would be a very genuine and honest offer. But it is a decision that I cannot take here. It is a decision that first we have NASA organs, we have the summit, we have NASA PG, we have various NASA organs which will look into it. But at the face of it, it looks to me a good offer if they are genuine enough to tell us, if it is not meant to deflate us, so that we don't actualize what we want to actualize.
So when would you want those commitments made by the IEBC, at least?
When they were making this communication, I have not seen that communication. I don't know whether they have written to NASA or whatever form of communication it is taking. I don't know whether they have called a presser. But if it is a formal communication, it should carry the details of what they want to do. If they are telling us to hold our horses, then they must go a step further and tell us that we are already taking action and give us up to such and such a date. We will communicate to you, or we will invite you for a meeting of this nature, where we will spell out exactly what we have done to address your concerns.
Okay, wonderful thing.
You see, I would wish that they listen. Any other good Kenyan, we will have to obey each other, right? If, for example, the IEBC have said something, I would really wish that our colleagues listen. Because there's also a belief, or there's a saying going on around, which is, if you are not ready to be led, then you cannot be ready to lead others. If you cannot listen to the other one, why would we expect others also to listen to you? So I hope they will listen. But let me just make a rejoinder of what my brother said, that we are wasting time. You know, I think that is not being very fair to us. And that's not a fair statement, that we are wasting time to seek for review. It is our right. We don't need even to ask anybody. We have to exploit the rights provided to us by the laws that are provided for. And in terms of new information, yes, we have a lot of new information.
What is that new information?
I'm not going to tell them here. I'm not going to tell anybody here. You know, we have new information, that's why we are going. But NASA don't want that direction, because they know that is where the truth is. The truth is Uhuru Kenyatta won. They don't want that. They want us to live in this. And we've gotten used to. These guys have never accepted any loss, for a long time. We know that. And that's why we want to proceed and say, look, you know what, okay, let's go for election on 26th, but we are also doing that. But coming to closer to what is going on, we are ready for election. And we are asking our colleagues, we are pleading with them. As much as these people are going on with their issues, let's prepare for our people and country for election on 26th. And we want to tell the people of Kenya, there's no cause of alarm or panic. The country is okay. We are okay. The country, in fact, this panic is almost being created by the media. If you go back to rural areas where I come from, I was in my constituency over the weekend, people are very peaceful and doing their farming and doing their business. They are waiting for 26th. So this panic which is being created, you know, they want to create a scenario of chaos from nowhere. And they want so that international community can come in and call for dialogue, or churches can call for dialogue, and then they achieve their objective.
Let's go back to something that's really important, because this is something that's going to be considered in Parliament. The changes to the law, and let's kind of look at each. Jubilee is looking at changing the Supreme Court Act, the IEBC Act, and the electoral laws. Several things have come out of this. When you're looking at the Election Act, for instance, they say results transmission will be done once the Forms 34B is complete. Some fear that this is taking us back to a manual system of voting and tallying. For the Supreme Court Act changes, they require a minimum of 5 judges to overturn a presidential election. So where is a lot of this coming from? What does it seek to achieve?
You see, I will first of all, as I said earlier, that I don't want to anticipate debate. I will first of all have to read it, you know, and then make my considerable opinion. But the general idea that we are going forward for these amendments, Rubadiri and Kenyans, we want a scenario or a legal regime where it respects the will of the voter, the Kenyan himself. Look at all this debate, Madam Rubadiri. Even for the last 1 hour we have been here or so. There's no voter. We are not talking about the voter. We are talking about those new Form 30-something, or you know, the server, or you know this. What about the voter? That is why our review is looking at the voter. What about the person who is supposed to make a decision to say, this is my president, this is my MP, this is my governor? And that is why all the laws, if we are to affirm and prepare, you know, and of course, you know, polish the law, we as Jubilee, we will be focusing, number one, on the voter and the shortness and clarification, so that, Madam Rubadiri, we run away from these shenanigans of people running to gatekeepers like a server, gatekeepers, like who manages this, who this, so that all these people here are removed from.
So what about changing the IEBC Act, the Supreme Court Act? Is that voter-focused?
Yes, it is. Because if, for example, a vote has made a decision, like what they made on 8, and then you find 4 people overturning it. No, that's not correct. Only 4 people overturning 15 million decision of Kenyans, or 50 million.
But a majority is a majority.
That's where we will look at it. We will look at it. In fact, in my view, that is a proposal maybe for our party. I will also move. My debate will be that if you are to overturn an election, if you are to overturn a decision of 15 million Kenyans, it should be a unanimous acceptance. I don't even agree on one. Even if they propose that one, I will also move an amendment that the 6 judges of the Supreme Court must be in agreement. And if you are not in agreement, you cannot overturn an election. Because, madam, let's go back. If Kenyan, my grandmother, my mother, or or somebody who voted, does not matter at the end. So why are we having an election?
Honorable Badi, what do you make of these changes, impending
2 things.
amendments?
I hope you'll indulge me to correct some insinuation and this innuendo by Jubilee that these people, they always refer to, these people don't want to accept defeat. And usually I think they are targeting Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga has participated in 4 presidential elections in this country. In 1997, when he lost to Moi, he accepted and congratulated Moi. In 2007, he won election and it was stolen. Raila Odinga, because of the interests of the country, agreed to share government with Kibaki at that time. 2013, again, we were very convinced that Uhuru didn't win election. We went to court, the court made a determination, we accepted it. Actually, the word then was accept and move on. And we did accept it. We accepted and moved on. In fact, Raila's words were, I don't agree with the court, the verdict of the court, but I accept it. For the interests of the country, for our economy to grow. Those were his words. We need to work together for national unity. Now, this time round, Raila again was, Uhuru was declared the winner. You asked us to go to court. In fact, the president and the deputy were almost every day from the date of, from 11th of August on us, before 11th and 14th. Every day it was, if you feel aggrieved, go to court. We took the challenge, we went to court, the court determined in our favor, and that is where we are. So I don't see this if there are people who don't want to accept, then it is Jubilee, which has been ranting all over the place. In fact, if you are confident enough of winning this election, then 2 things, I didn't expect you to do 2 things. 1, the attack on judiciary is completely uncalled for. 2, these disparate steps, and that now takes me to the legislation, the question that you asked me. To me, these are very disparate attempts by Jubilee to roll back the gains that we made as a country. If you are talking of just 4 judges should not overturn the will of the people, and I don't know whether this will of the people is the will of Jubilee supporters or will of which people.
No, the Kenyans.
But which Kenyans? You know, you are thinking in this country is that Jubilee supporters are Kenyans and others are not Kenyans. We are all Kenyans. Yes. It is Jubilee supporters and NASA supporters. So the will of all this must be respected. Absolutely. And what of an individual turning the will of the people? What of Chebukati or Cheloba changing the will of the people at Bomas of Kenya? Is that desirable than
so what would be...
So in my view, this attempt by Jubilee to amend the law is very archaic. In fact, to me, it's very mature on part of Jubilee. If this government came to power talking digital, and now they are saying they want to remove all the digital component of voting back to manual, something which Kriegler in 2008 had identified as the biggest problem in this country. You want to now resurrect the dead voters to come and vote. You now want someone in Juja to disappear with forms, like it happened in 2007, for this country to move on. We can do better than that, thing. And actually, young people like you should not reason like some of these tired politicians. Can you please get back to your senses a little and ask yourself fundamental questions? Do you want manual voting in this country? Is that what you are aiming at? Do you want to reduce the powers of the Supreme Court? in this country? Is that what, as a country,
I'll have you respond, Honorable Kosing, really briefly. However, let's cross over to Mombasa. Peter Mwangangi is standing by to let us know what's been happening there. Some ongoing demolitions. We understand the Mombasa Governor, Hassan Joho, was there as well. Peter, bring us up to speed.
Thank you, Victoria. Yes, indeed, but the demolitions are not going on as we speak. They were there in the morning. The bone of contention is right behind me, this perimeter wall over here. This is a perimeter wall, which is a beach access road. Fishermen have been using it to access the beach, which is on my left side. If my cameraman Karim Rajan can just show, there has been a contention over this particular access road. Because the governor of Mombasa says that the National Lands Commission wrote to the county in August of last year demanding that, raising issues about the closure of this particular access road. And the person being accused is the owner of the Nyali Beach Resort, which is right a few meters from where we are. We are still trying to get the management of that hotel to tell us exactly why this happened. Even as we speak, actually, even after the demolition of the wall, we still have guards with sniffer dogs trying to ensure that nobody goes to, accesses the beach. Victoria, there was a standoff earlier today at the Nyali police station between the governor of Mombasa, Hassan Joho, and the OCPD of Kisauni, Christopher Rotich, because 7 county inspectorate officials who were here in the morning were arrested and have been at the station since morning. And the governor of Mombasa is accusing police of trying to protect people he allegedly claims are land grabbers. Of course, we have tried to get the police to talk to us. We spoke to the OCPD, Rotich, to give us a brief from their side. He declined and referred us to the regional police commander, Patterson Milo. Patterson Milo was at the police station, but he left without addressing the media. But away from all that is happening over there, we just want to talk to some of the fishermen and to tell us a little bit of what has been happening here. Kama unaweza jiunga na mimi, hebu tueleze jina lako, umekuwa hapa kwa muda gani na tatizo ni gani?
Mimi kwa jina naitwa Mohamed Harun. Hapa Nyali mimi nimekuwa hapa, mimi ni mvuvi, niko na miaka 25 hapa. Na zaidi ya 25. Na kusema kweli sisi tunanyanyaswa. Sisi wavuvi wa Nyali tunanyanyaswa. Njia zetu ambazo tunapitia wakati tumaliza kazi zetu, njia zote zinafungwa na wale wanaitwa mabepari, wale watu wenye senti. Kuna hii njia ambayo iko hapa pia tulizibiwa hapa, tukalia. Mwenyezi Mungu ampe umri mrefu governor. Tunamshukuru sana. Mwenyezi Mungu ampe umri mrefu. Yeye ndo amefuatilia hii mambo. Hapa sisi liko tukija, tunafuatwa na polisi, tunaondolewa. Bandari yetu ilivunjwa pia, lakini governor katusaidia.
Na hii ilifanyika lini? Hii njia ilizibwa lini?
Nje na zaidi ya miaka 3 ama 3.5 hivi tumezibiwa hapa. Na kuna majibu pia tumewekewa hapo, ukija unatafunwa.
Na tatizo la likizibwa, nyinyi mnaathirika kivipi?
Tunaathirika vibaya sana kwa sababu sasa tukija na boti zetu hapo tunataka kupandisha samaki, tunashindwa, inabidi tuende njia ya mbali kabisa tuende tukatoe samaki zetu. Tunanyanyaswa. Kwa hivyo wale ambao wako mbele tuwaomba tusaidie. Sisi wavuvi na rafiki zetu ambao wanaitwa kasa pia wananyanyaswa. Hawana sehemu za kuzaa. Makuta yamewekwa paka huko chini. Tusaidieni. Nyinyi ambao mko juu huko, tusaidieni.
Asante sana. Labda tuzungumze na mwingine. Tueleze jina lako na tatizo gani na hisia zako nini?
Mimi naitwa Salib Charo. Ni mkazi wa hapa Kongowea, lakini kazi yangu kubwa ni uvuvi. Nimekaa hapa karibu miaka 15 ama 14 hivi hapa Nyali Beach kuvua. Na tulikuwa na bandari hapa, kando hapa tulikuwa na bandari yetu. Lakini baada kama hiyo miaka 3 na nusu hapo tukujaondolewa hapa, tukaambiwa ondokeni hapa, nipa mwenyewe. Sasa mwenyewe hatukumjua ni nani. Tukaondoka tukajaribu kuenda kwa jamaa kuuliza, tukaregeshwa tena, tukakaa tena kama miezi mitatu minne, tukaja tukafukuzwa tena, ndio tukahama mbele huko mbele, lakini tulikuwa tuweka boti zetu hapa, tutumia njia hii. Pakia pale samaki wetu, kuna kama wale samaki wanaitwa simsimu wanakuja kwa wingi. So wale wakishikwa ni kwa wingi, tunawapandishiana hapa. Kama ni wale wadogo wadogo, kwa tupandishiana kule. Sasa hilo ndio tatizo kubwa. Sasa watu wakaenda kwa gavana kwenda kulia. Sasa juzi ndio tunaona imefunguliwa barabara, lakini bado ina security. Sasa hata hatujui kuendelea nini.
Kwa hivyo kwa kifupi ombi lenu ni gani?
Ombi letu tunaomba tufunguliwe hizi barabara tuweze kupita kwenda baharini. Kwa sababu ndio shughuli zetu ni baharini, hatuna shughuli za juu.
Asante sana. Victoria, those are some of the fishermen who are involved in their business and their trade here at the Nyali beach. We understand that there are over 100 fishermen who use this particular harbour to bring their fish, but they now say that after the closure of such access roads, they now have to take their products or rather their fish through other routes which are far off, wastage of time and of course energy. That is what is happening here. Even as we were coming here, we had to produce our press cards to be allowed to be at this particular spot to just see the situation here. And of course we will try to get all the people who are involved in this particular issue to speak to us on their position. Just to clarify, there were some reports in the morning that the governor of Mombasa had been detained at the Nyali police station. That is not true. He had gone there to seek the release of the 7 county inspectorate officials who had been arrested here by the police officers because of bringing down this wall, and it's an incident that will continue to follow. Of course, this is not the first time at the county inspectorate and police are clashing over such issues. There was one a year ago when there was the tussle of a wall at the VOK owned by the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. The county government said that there were no orders, there were no permits to construct a perimeter wall on that particular piece of land, and they brought it down, and then the police came and said they would supervise the workers as they try to put up that wall. That wall has not been constructed up to date, and that tussle is still ongoing. So this is not the first time such a friction between county inspectorate and police is happening, and we'll be following up to see how this one ends. Victoria?
All right, thanks, Peter. Before I let you go, where were these officials actually arrested?
We understand that they were arrested at this particular spot. They were using, they came here with a bulldozer and they sort of pushed the wall down. In fact, I'm stepping on some of the debris, some of the bricks which had been used to block this particular wall. I don't know whether my cameraman Karim can try and get some of it, but that is why they came, they brought it down, and they were trying to make a way for the public, not just the fishermen, but also members of the public to be able to access the beach and even have a good time there swimming. And we understand that is why they were arrested. But Victoria, we are yet to get official communication from the police officers. All the information we have is from the affected people here on the ground, and also the governor of Mombasa. Those are the only ones who have spoken to us. We are yet to get official communication from the police officers and see what is their position of this particular piece of land, because the governor is saying that there are no orders whatsoever they have not allowed construction of this particular perimeter wall, and we want to see what police officers, on what orders have they been acting upon.
All right, thanks, Peter, for that update. We'll be checking back in with you a bit later on in the day. Let's head back to our conversation here with Honorable Badi and Honorable Kosing, and you wanted to respond to his remarks.
Yes, Madam Rubaridi, you know, the idea that people are fearing amendment of laws. You know, Parliament is house of making laws. So let's meet in Parliament with our colleagues, and we make the laws that we think they're better for this country. So, and somebody saying, no, Jubilee is boasting of, being ICT and so on and so forth. But even Germany, which is a country that we know is the best in the world in terms of technology, are going back to manual. So if manual can deliver the best for this country in terms of election, so what's the problem? Must we do something that should we complicate our lives, because of just technology? Once this thing is properly in the House, we will debate it. But let me also correct some propaganda being battled around about us Jubilee, Jubilee is attacking the court and so on and so forth. We are not attacking the court for court's sake. We are not attacking the Supreme Court. In fact, we are enriching it. The idea that after a decision has been made in any court that we cannot talk about it is not there. It has to be critiqued for better of tomorrow. Our colleagues on the other side, which is NASA, have been threatening the court and saying, you know what, this is a time now for you to redeem yourself, There was, and everybody knows that in this country.
What do you make of the petition that was put forth by Ngunjiri Wambugo to have the CJ removed? That has not been withdrawn yet.
If there are grounds, because it is a Judicial Service Commission to look at that petition and say, look, are there grounds? We are not attacking. We as Jubilee, and in fact, that is not Jubilee. Maybe my colleague Ngunjiri went as an individual. But I wanted to correct that idea so that, Madam Rubadiri, we know that in this country, once a decision has been made, it's a good platform to learn and critique it, make it even better. When we are saying that our opinion, and my personal opinion is that maybe the Supreme Court judges were actually after making history, that we will make history. We were number 3 in the world. We are like this. But they were thinking about their own history. They were not thinking about Kenyan voting in Pokot South constituency, electing his own president of his likeness. And that is why we are saying, fine, you made your history, but let's go back now to say what happened, because there's new information which has emerged. So that's why I want to correct my colleagues that don't give us wrong names. We even want to strengthen the Supreme Court. Even proposal, Madam Rubadiri, that if this amendment comes, that no less than 5 judges should overturn an election. That's making Supreme Court very strong in my view. So that 6 people will have to rethink. 6 people must work together. This idea of maybe 4 or 3 people or the majority. No, we can't agree in this majority. We want to go for a super majority, which is all of them.
Does that, however, infringe on the independence of the judiciary? If you
no.
How no?
But that is our work as a parliament. That's our work. We will amend the law and we'll open it for public participation. They will also come in. They will also make contribution. It's not only us. Whatever the end product that will come, it will be for all of us, even also the judiciary itself. But we will make it very strong. Very strong. That
so trying to make sure that only 5 judges is required to ensure that a decision goes through is not infringing on the judiciary's freedom and independence?
It's not. It's not infringing. Why? Because even the 2/3 majority that we put ourselves in parliament to make certain amendments, it's not infringing on parliament rights. It is only a threshold to make it stronger, to make it binding, to make it acceptable. It has to be properly accepted. It's not just for 4 people overturning a result of about 15 million Kenyans. No. We have to rethink, and that is why decisions are made to allow us as Kenyans and intellectuals to be able to think and critique and make them better for tomorrow. It's not a problem. It's not a bad thing. We've not said anything. We've just said, yes, we agree, but we want to critique it.
Okay, and we need to wrap up this conversation. On Robadi, you want to
when Kusing talks about respecting institutions and respecting judiciary and saying that what they'll be doing is criticizing judiciary, the decision. How I wish that was the case, because calling judges thugs, to me, is not criticism. That's a serious assault. When you attack a judge and you say he's a thug, to me, that is outrageous and coming from the highest office in the land. It's irresponsible, and that is something that should be condemned by any rightful thinking.
Who called judges thugs?
I think in Kenyans. Wakora in English, I thought is a thug.
Was that a reference to judges?
Of course, no, it was direct.
No, it wasn't.
What is it a reference to?
No, it wasn't.
Reference to
even who? You play and look at it again. It was not.
Anyway,
we'll get
to
into
me that's an unnecessary argument.
You can complete your remarks.
So let me proceed and say that if the amendments were for the interests of this country, how I wish that they were brought in a properly structured way, not with the threats that you have done this, we are going to fix you, and then you get the Jubilee leadership in the House bragging of their numbers and saying we will do 1, 2, 3. This so-called 5, you know, if there is anything wrong in this world, and which one should never do, is to legislate to favor you for the moment. Because you see, the 5 is simply counting the number of judges that we have at the Supreme Court, 7 of them, and seeing that Ojuang and Njoki dissented, you take away 2, you remain with 5. And then Ibrahim was unwell, so it is assumed that probably if he came to the bench, he would have ruled in Jubilee's favor. That, to me, is the most myopic way of thinking. And I want to wrap up by saying that really, and I would urge caution on the part of my colleagues. We really need to be very, very cautious. The independence of judiciary cannot be compromised. It is the judiciary which almost made this country to go to the dogs in 2007, because people didn't have faith in the judiciary. If you compromise the independence of judiciary, you are causing chaos in the country. Our constitution gives the lawmaking to parliament, yes, the application of the law to executive, and the interpretation of the law to judiciary. Let us not interfere with that. The standard practice anywhere in the world is that decision of judges, the decision of any court where we have more than one judge, is usually with the simple majority. And if it is a tie, it is usually that the petition is lost. And that is a standard practice. I want to wrap up by saying this move that they're making is actually unconstitutional. If the 2/3 that he's talking about is provided in the Constitution, and it only touches on constitutional amendments, not any other legislation, and that the people of Kenya made a provision in the Constitution. If people of Kenya wanted supermajority for the judiciary, they would have pronounced themselves. If you want it, please bring a referendum tomorrow for the people of Kenya to make a determination. You should never think in your way of thinking that you can bring such a legislation in parliament to put a threshold for judges. It will not work. And that is why I'm telling you, you are lawyers, you are parliamentarians, including yourself, Mr. Gosing, you are completely doing a lot of disservice to Jubilee in this country. You are telling them things that cannot work. Please, if you are confident of winning this election, allow us to reform IEBC. We go to election with the current infrastructure, electoral infrastructure. This was negotiated. You had your team at Windsor. We had our team at Windsor. We negotiated and we came up with these legislations. I don't know where this thinking, unilateral thinking from Jubilee is coming from, that because they have how many MPs in parliament, that they are more than NASA. They think they can bulldoze the people of Kenya. You will be met with serious resistance from the people of Kenya. Remember even section, even section 2A of the Constitution.
Because they do have the numbers, at least in Parliament. Yeah.
And that is why I'm saying the people of Kenya. Let me just finish. Even section 2A was passed by a parliament. And when it was being passed, Moi thought, and with his team, that they are going to now manage the people of Kenya the way they want. But that section 2A was repealed by the people of Kenya. Their demand. They forced the government then, which was more dictatorial than this one you are trying to copy and mimic the President Moi. You will not reach where Moi reached with the dictatorship. Sure. So please, you better start acclimatizing yourself with where we are. We cannot go back. If you think you are going to pass some legislation in parliament to tame judiciary, to change electoral laws, you will face the people of Kenya in the streets. And they will show you that this country belongs to them. They have the sovereign authority. It doesn't belong to you. You are exercising delegated authority. Go and read chapter 1 of the Constitution.
So beyond the civic response by the people, what more is NASA hoping to do if, for instance, those legislations go through?
But there's nothing as powerful as the people. It is what has caused.
So will there be endless protests if that's the case?
It can even go as many months as possible until we get what we want.
What does that mean for the people of Kenya, for the way the country is run, if we have endless protests?
Of course there will be problems, but that will be for the good of the country. There are countries in the world where regimes have been changed, And if you can't allow regimes to be changed in a democratic manner, then the people take back the power themselves, and they will change that regime.
Is that speaking
so
for
if that is what Jubilee is thinking, that they would just use their tyranny of numbers during the National Assembly to make life difficult for Kenyans, they are misled. We will come out, we will show the Jubilee administration that the power belongs to the people.
So beyond that, what other means is NASA looking at to effect these changes? Because we see Jubilees going through legal channels.
Yes.
If you're going to the street endlessly, what more can be done to ensure that they are binding?
Good question.
Victoria, let me tell you one thing. It's like you're looking for an answer that probably I don't have. I've given you the answer. Number one, we have been we have taken legal steps, all of them, all the way, including going to the Supreme Court, including asking for prosecution of the criminals at the IEBC. But we are saying another legal method is also to get power back to the people. Because this constitution, the one that my friend is carrying, this constitution is the one that gave the ultimate power to the people. It is not Mbadi, it is not NASA, it is not even something that we beg for. This constitution says we are delegating our sovereign authority to legislature to make laws, to the executive to govern us and execute the laws, and also to the judiciary to interpret the laws. In the event any arm of government abuses that power that is delegated to them, the agency power that is given to them, then the people of Kenya are at liberty to take back their power and exercise it directly. And that is not Mbadi speaking, it is this constitution.
So how do they exercise it to make those changes binding, is what I'm asking. Beyond going to the streets and protesting, that is their civil liberty to do that. Beyond doing that, what will make their changes binding?
When any institution does not listen to you, you can come out and force it to listen to you.
And how so?
But I've just explained that the people of Kenya will come out and demonstrate that this regime is taking them back to the era that they came from, and they will not allow it. And when they don't allow it, the regime at the moment will be forced either to backtrack or to give way for a better regime and a better government.
That is if the regime actually does respond to the
they will be forced. You know, you cannot stop the people's power.
Okay.
You may chest thumb, you may speak whatever you want to say, but even Gaddafi could not stop the people's power with all his might. Even Mubarak did not stop people's power. So people's power you cannot stop.
But Mubarak at a point had to go through the courts.
He went through the courts after what?
Yes, exactly.
After the people's power. So after the people's power forces you to where you should be, then you can go through any other
Honorable
process.
Kusing, you wanted to respond?
Yeah, because you've given my friend here a long time. But it's good. I mean, but it's not said much that I would think that Kenyans need to listen. What is going on, what has gone on all this time, in my opinion, is that these guys don't want anything. They don't want an election, they don't want amendments of laws, they don't want anything, they don't want anything. What they want is Nusumkate. Let me make my response like this. That number one, we as Jubilee want to go the legal way, right? If this does not work, let's go back to the House of Debate. And we will not apologize to anybody for numbers. This thing people call tyranny of numbers. It is the people of Kenya who decided that Jubilee has a mandate to lead this country. And that's what we are. And we will make use of that power that we have been donated by the people of Kenya to make it better for them. And the idea, Victoria, that Jubilee, our colleagues in NASA talk about the people, they are not owners of the people. The people of Kenya, even Jubilee also has people. So the idea of saying, oh, you know, we'll have people going on the street and so on and so forth, it is not only NASA in this country, there's also Jubilee. So what we are trying to tell them, and as my closing remarks, I want to plead with our colleagues, let them prepare for 26th election. If they are ready, let them be ready. If they are not ready, let them write a letter to IEBC that their candidate is out of election on 26th, so that we swear in the president. Number two, we also want to tell Kenyans that this country is stable and peaceful. No chaos. Even if these guys want to look like the country is in chaos, it's not in chaos. The president is in office legitimately. And when the Supreme Court said, let's go back then to fresh election, and then Article 142 of the Constitution comes in. you know, in terms of explaining what are the mandates of the president. So the president shall be in office. He is in office. He is legitimately in office. Even if these guys want to portray that he's not legitimate, he's a legitimate president of the Republic of Kenya. So there is no cause of alarm. What the cause of alarm which is going on is our guys want that thing to look like there's an alarm here in Nairobi, you know, to force other people that they know to come and call for dialogue. We want to tell them that this country shall be helped and shall be corrected by the people of Kenya, them included. Let us go back to election so that we move our country forward. The ideas of trying to come up with, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want, so what do you want? What exactly do you want? You don't want election, so what do you want? Then write to IEBC so that now this country can move forward. We want to move the country forward. The debating and amendment of laws, Madam Robari, we are not doing it on the dark. We will bring it to Parliament, where Mbadi is a leader of minority now. He has now more time to speak more than last time in this Parliament. He has more time, and I know he's a good debater. But I think they are not going to debate for the better of the country. And let them remember that people are not only for NASA, they're also people for Jubilee. Let us think about our own country.
Okay, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Honorable Kosing, Honorable Mbadi. It seems that both Jubilee and NASA are pushing for the interests of the people. The means with which they're using, of course, very, very different. Thank you so much. Let's take a short break here on Decision 2017. Much more ahead. Stay with us.